Welcome back, everybody, to the Voices for Blogging podcast. You can find our podcast on the Podbean app, Apple Podcasts, and just recently we've been added to the Google Podcasts
Moving
app.
on up.
Moving on up, big boy. You can also find us and follow us on our Instagram page at Voices for Blogging. On that note, Royce, I got some exciting news to start this podcast with.
Let's hear it. I'm ready for the exciting news.
I've actually been getting some feedback from some of our listeners, which confirms that we have more than two listeners.
You said You said listeners as in plural.
I got really excited. So not only did I get some feedback through text message or through direct message on our Instagram page at Voices for Blogging, some of it was face-to-face feedback. So that's pretty exciting. But not only did we get that, we also got a contribution from one of our listeners.
What do you mean by that?
One of our listeners wanted to share some information to add to our conversation. Like, that's the big time, man.
Now I'm curious. You got me curious.
So, I think moving forward, unless we actually have our listeners on the podcast with us, we're going to kind of use code names for all these people. So
all right,
this listener shall now, moving forward, be known as the Dancing Queen.
Code names or nicknames?
Code name, nicknames, I guess they're the same in my world. I actually do this in real life to people anyway. I very rarely call them by their own names anyway. So the Dancing Queen actually sent some information about the NFL that we'll kind of use later, probably in our conversation as we talk a little bit sports today, as we talk a little bit about tonight's game, the Thursday night game, which my pick didn't work out the way I thought it was going to. It was kind of a last minute thing that I decided I was going to throw that out there.
How about that game, man? That was nutty.
It was a nutty game, and it went the way I thought it would in the first half, and a couple of mistakes happened in the second half, and like any NFL game, once something happens that turns a tide or changes momentum, it's typically how the game's going to go after that.
Yeah.
And then I think tonight we probably should talk a little bit more about the markets and just kind of what's going on as we hit all-time highs in daily COVID cases.
And all-time highs in the markets.
An all-time high in the markets, and we have a vaccine. We had some vaccine news since the last time we talked. So there's a lot to go over tonight. But before we go there, I just want to check in on you. How are you doing? How was your fishing trip?
It was good. I caught a lot of fish, actually. Caught 19 fish, 18 whitefish, and 1 red snapper.
Wow.
So we've been eating a lot of fish here, and honestly, I'm actually a little tired of fish right now. I don't need to see another fish for a long time.
That's usually how it goes. How'd you guys prepare the red snapper?
So actually, the red snapper, one of my roommates prepared it in a Mexican fish dish. It was actually really good. It was very good. The rest of the whitefish, actually, we just breaded it and fried it, and that was pretty good as well. But like I said, I'm a little fished out.
Yeah, you didn't turn any of that into sashimi. You guys didn't try to eat some of that raw?
No. It was interesting because we caught it, and it was fresh because we just caught it out of the ocean. I don't know whether it's the environment that they live in, or maybe just in the one day that it was sitting in the refrigerator, but it kind of had a little bit of a fish smell and just a hint of that.
So there's going to be a little bit of that naturally with certain fish. Shelf life for fish is not straight across the board the same. And anytime, were your fish filleted? Are they filleted in your refrigerator, or are they whole in your refrigerator?
They were filleted. Yeah.
So once you fillet the fish, you're exposing the meat to oxygen unless you're vacuum sealing that stuff. So it's already decaying on the shelf life side of things.
Yeah.
So certain fish really after about a day or two, like the shelf life really isn't much more than that, even if it's right off the boat.
Wow, interesting.
There's certain fish like ahi. The different types of ahi have different types of shelf life. So here in Hawaii, we catch a lot and we sell a lot of the big eye ahi. The big eye ahi actually has a shelf life of roughly 3 weeks.
Wow.
If taken care of properly, we can keep that stuff really for 21 days from out of the water. Yellowfin tuna, yellowfin ahi probably has a shelf life of about half of that, give or take. But it definitely all depends on how you take care of it. You don't expose it to water, you don't expose it to air. So there's a whole bunch of ways, you got to procure your fish to kind of make it last. So that's why a lot of time the vacuum sealing is the way to go. Take all the oxygen out of there, so you can freeze it sometimes, because there's, like you said, there's only so much you can eat at one time.
Yeah, that's what I'll do next time. Is I have a vacuum sealer here. I'll vacuum seal it as soon as I get home, and that way, hopefully,
Correct.
it'll stay a little bit. I mean, trust me, it wasn't bad at all. Like,
Right.
it was very, 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 very small. So it was good.
But just kind of surprised you because the smell was a little more fishier than you thought it would be for something
Oh yeah,
that
for sure,
fresh.
for sure.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it was literally the next day that I started
Mm-hmm.
opening the Ziploc bag, and there was a little bit of that smell, and I was
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah. I mean, and like I said, that's just how it goes. And certain fish sometimes just have more of a smell than others.
Yeah,
There's a little bit of that. It's kind of like when they cook mackerel, right? Mackerel just has a lot stronger of a smell than
yeah,
some other fish, right? So just certain fish, in and by itself, just have a little stronger smell. That, and for some people, that's enough of a turnoff where they don't want to eat the fish. But when you when you cook fish, I mean, that's usually that's your sign that you shouldn't eat it raw. Just cook it; it'll be just fine.
yeah.
Um, oh, one of the I was gonna say, one of the dirty secrets that people don't know in the restaurant business is if you eat ahi that's fully cooked all the way through,
You can't
not
tell.
not medium and all that,
Yeah.
that ahi before they throw it on the grill is not red, it's brown.
Interesting.
It's almost fully brown. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that it can't be eaten raw at that point. At that point, you just need to cook it.
Just put it in shoyu and fry it in the
Yeah,
pan.
right. Or people do ahi katsu, garlic ahi, fried poke. Well, all fried poke is leftover poke that they couldn't sell, so they fried it and gave it to you.
Yeah. You
You
don't want to
know,
expose those dirty secrets of the restaurant industry, though, man.
that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
All the
Again,
leftovers.
audience of 17. So just want to I want to inform our audience on how to pick the right things to eat at a restaurant.
Yeah. So
There are definitely things on the menu you stay away from.
yeah, definitely. Like the spicy tuna.
Let's lather it in a ton of mayonnaise, and
Spice,
you won't even know.
spice it up. You can't even
Yes,
tell.
you won't even
Yeah.
tell.
So the fishing trip actually, we ended up going out of Long Beach, and for one spot on the boat, I think it was either $40 or $80. I don't remember exactly right now. But what actually ended up happening is that this boat typically takes out about like 38 people. So there's 38
Mm-hmm.
slots on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the season and maybe things that are happening with the virus, we actually only had outside of our group, which was about 6,
Okay.
2 other people. So there were 8 people on this
Right.
boat that typically takes out 38.
Wow.
Yeah, and we caught, I want to say, probably about like 90 fish between
That's
everyone.
that's great action, though. I mean, the captain's definitely taking you guys places where you're getting action, man. No one can complain about that.
No one can complain about that. I mean, we had the whole boat to ourselves. Everyone that was on the boat was super, super cool, very
Uh-huh.
attentive. Like we moved from spot to spot, caught a lot of
Right.
fish.
Right.
It was a great experience.
Were you guys trolling, or were you guys bottom fishing?
Bottom fishing.
Oh, how'd you do with that? Because
Bottom.
bottom fishing can be challenging for people. You're sitting there in the water, anchored, and that boat's rocking side to side. How'd you do with your seasickness? How were your sea legs?
Oh, I'm good. So there were 2 people that got seasick that obviously don't fish very often. One of them, I felt bad for him because immediately, as soon as we left the harbor, he was sick and he was
Oh
out for the
wow!
entire day. And
Oh
the
wow!
entire day he was out, just lying down, passed out on the boat because he was so sick.
No. So while the boat is moving, he had a hard time.
Yes,
Wow, that's rough.
it was rough. I mean,
That's
we were
rough.
out there for, I want to say, like 10 hours. We left at 6 in the morning, got back around 5. Yeah, it was probably 11 hours.
11 hours, and he just slept for 11 hours.
He just slept for 11 hours, basically.
Wow.
Yeah. Did not catch a fish because he barely went fishing.
Yeah, you guys was the food good on the boat? You guys eat? You guys drink a little bit?
Food
Was
was
it
good on the boat.
BYOB, or you had to buy drinks from them?
No, you could buy drinks from the galley. There was food in the galley, breakfast burritos, burgers, all kinds of stuff, and beers. So it was a really good trip. We got lucky, obviously.
That's a fantastic trip, man. When next time you come home, let's go get some guys together and get on a boat, man.
Yeah. The only thing I would say about, like, I've been going on, this is my second trip now, all day fishing trip. The only thing I would say is that both
Right.
times when I've come back home, man, the ground is just still rocking.
Yeah.
Like,
Ground moves, man.
the ground,
It
like,
moves. It definitely moves for a while by the
it
time you
moves
get when
for
you
a
get home.
while. The last time was really bad. Like, the first time I went was really bad. I came back home and just standing up and walking around the house, it feels like the whole house is shaking. This time it wasn't as bad for whatever reason. But yeah, luckily I don't get
Uh-huh.
seasick either. So
Great, man.
yeah,
11 hours though. 11 hours. That's a long time. That's
it's
a
a long
long
time.
time to be out.
Yeah. So we left. Yeah, we left from this place called Pier Point Landing in Long Beach, and so the boat was called the Enterprise, actually.
Oh, Starship Enterprise.
Starship
Nice.
Enterprise. Yeah, you can actually go look up on, I think it's on the California Fishing and Wildlife site, and see how many fish people
Mm-hmm.
caught, what types of fish people caught, because they have to report that stuff, right? So it's actually really interesting. They did that for the last
Right.
boat that we were on too, as well.
Is that your typical kind of catch though? A bunch of whitefish and snapper?
Actually, we caught a lot more fish than I thought we did. It was 90 whitefish, 82
I was gonna
rockfish,
say with
12 sheephead,
uh-huh.
and 2 sand bass. So it's funny because everyone sent pictures of themselves, like, cooking the fish and cutting it all up and what they made with it. So it's kind of cool to see what people did. Uh,
Oh, cute. You guys started a little photo album with each other?
a little bit, yeah. It's a little text thread, but so interesting. There's another boat that was on a 2-day boat that
What?
went 5 days earlier, and they caught
Mm-hmm.
73 bluefin tuna and 29 yellowtail.
They caught 73 bluefins.
Yep, and 29 yellowtail.
You need to get on that boat.
That's the boat I want to be on. Yeah, but it was a 2-day. Looks like.
They caught bluefin, dude. They caught Pacific bluefin. So for our audience that doesn't know, the two types of bluefin we typically have would be the Pacific bluefin, which is caught near Mexico, and then we have the Atlantic bluefin that's caught all over the East Coast, what you see in Wicked Tuna, and then you also have the Spanish bluefin out near Europe. As far as fat content, the Pacific bluefin tends to be the leaner of the three, but still delicious.
I think it's probably all delicious.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Having eaten all of them and cut all of them, they're delicious. All right, well, that sounds like a great fishing trip, Royce. You want to move on to our NFL weekend and extend it to what happened tonight?
Let's do it.
So overall for the weekend, we went 2-2. I was 2-1, and I'm gonna let you talk about your pick.
This reminds me of the one season that I quit gambling because I started the season so bad, and this is it. But if you were to take my advice and do the opposite, you'd be doing great right now.
I mean, to go over our picks for this past Sunday, you had KC -10,
Oh man.
and our audience doesn't know this, but you and I texted about this, and I was telling you from the beginning, this is not the pick, man. This is not the
Yeah,
pick.
it could have gone. It could have gone two ways. This is the way that I thought it could go, right? I mean, it could go the way that you mentioned, where the Panthers are going to be able to run the ball, they're going to be able to move the ball, they're going to kill the clock, and obviously running the ball, killing the clock. Kansas City has less time to score. Their offense is not on the field. The Panthers can stay in the game.
Yep.
And my thinking was, hey, it could go the other way, where if Kansas City goes up 2 touchdowns or 2 scores, Panthers are going to be forced to to pass instead of run. There's an opportunity for Kansas City to score, a lot more points.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
It did not go that way.
It didn't go that way.
It did not go that way at all.
Well, and some of that is that, for the Panthers, that's just one of those teams in the NFL right now you still want to play. That's a team that's starting to kind of really get their groove, and they got McCaffrey back last week, and he had a big game. He got hurt again, but he had a big game, and they're running a version of the Saints offense, which is very much predicated on making sure you get completions. It's not about taking the ball downfield all day. It's about making completions, kind of catching a lot of yak, taking advantage of possession receivers, and then taking shots downfield, using your running backs in the passing game on a lot of what we call free releases, where these guys just get out there and they're open, and it's hard to cover them. And that's what's happening. You put McCaffrey out in open space, get the ball to him quickly. You see the success they have with Mike Davis in the last few weeks when McCaffrey's been out. That
Yeah.
just makes him a scary team. And Teddy Bridgewater, it's a solid NFL quarterback. He's not anything that it's going to be a world beater or anything like that. So Teddy Bridgewater, he does enough to give you a chance to win.
He does. I mean, he's a good fit for that offense. He's fairly accurate. I mean, he can move around. It's a good team. It's a scary team.
Yeah, or they're definitely good enough to prevent a team from going to the playoffs, to pull a big game here and there. I mean, this weekend they're gonna see Brady and the Buccaneers. I don't see that happening this weekend. I think Brady and Buccaneers kind of bounce back and make up for last week. It's just kind of
Yeah, they got.
there's no way they're that bad as they showed
Yeah.
on Sunday.
No.
They're not as bad as they showed on Sunday. The Saints were just healthy. You see the potential of the Saints. That was more about you see the potential of the Saints. With everyone back, watch out. Let's see what happens the next coming weeks.
Yeah.
The other picks for the week, my almost weekly over bet on the Raiders. They give it up. They just give it up. That's just what they do.
They give it
but
up.
offensively, they'll challenge you, and they all definitely fall in the category of a team you don't want to play. Because if they show up that day, like the Saints found out on that Monday night, if they show up, they can beat anybody.
Yeah.
With that strong running game and Derek Carr kind of distributing the ball and taking care of the ball for the most part. And so that game came through. We had the Falcons over. The Falcons don't have a problem scoring this year. They have a problem stopping people. So that over under at 49 seemed like a pretty easy bet. But they're on a roll. Look out. They're on a roll.
They
And when
definitely
you look at the NFL talk about expanding the playoffs, the NFL is looking to expand it to 8 teams for the playoffs if they don't finish the season. Like they're in the hunt.
Yeah,
all of a sudden they're in the hunt.
They're definitely turning it around now. I mean, they've always had a good offense. There's just a defense that usually, I mean, that's what cost them the Super Bowl, right? Is their defense couldn't close it. But their offense is always going to be good. I mean, Matt Ryan, Julio Jones back, right?
Yeah.
Like, come on. Plus, they have great colors.
I mean, it's impressive too because Calvin Ridley didn't even play. That's one thing. They're gonna look good, even if they lose. They're still gonna look good. So
black and red, man.
There's always that. So I was pretty confident about those picks. Roll the dice on the Monday night game and get a 4th pick and go with the Pats on a -9. I don't think anyone expected the duel between Joe Flacco and Cam Newton to be so entertaining.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco had moments where he looked like Joe Flacco.
He looked like Joe Flacco
of the Baltimore Ravens.
He looked like from the Ravens from the Super Bowl championship years.
Right. So, in the end, of course, they're still the Jets, and they're like one of our listeners who we've nicknamed Owen, the one that hasn't won a fantasy game. He is now 0-9, so his nickname is now Owen.
You know what? I'm rooting for you, Owen. I'm rooting for you, man. You gotta get one.
I mean, I told him if he goes winless, he's coming on the show, and we're going to talk about his lack of fantasy prowess. But hey, Royce, remember when I was telling you we had a listener, the Dancing Queen, that sent me some information that she wanted me to share or maybe add to our conversation in our episode?
I did. I'm curious.
So I don't know which episode she was listening to, but she texted me an article about the NFL franchise values and their net income.
Okay,
So
this is going to be interesting.
So this is interesting. Who do you think, which franchise do you think is worth the most, and how much do you think it's worth?
Wow, in football, huh?
Yep, this is the NFL.
I'm going to say the Patriots.
Close. They're number 2, and they're valued at about $4.2 billion.
I think they were number 1 at one point.
But no, I think the number 1 is always been the number 1.
Dallas?
Absolutely.
Interesting.
This is why Jerry Jones can afford to lose because, well, first of all, his franchise is worth over $5.5 billion, according to this source. And their net income annually ranges somewhere between $400 to $450 million.
Wow. You know what? I can guarantee you, though, they're not going to make that much this year.
Well, they won't make that much this year because I think part of their – so what I'm curious about to find out is the stadium in this worth? And I think it is. The stadium is within the franchise value.
Does Jerry Jones own it? He paid it.
Yes.
He paid it.
This is his. Yeah.
He paid $1 billion for it, right?
Yeah. So I believe it is worth in there. And I think part of the reason where that net income – so I don't think So I'm curious to see if other activities at that stadium get put into their income,
Yeah.
like concerts, college
Yep.
football games, and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, right? So the Patriots are second. Who do you think is the lowest value team in NFL?
Wow, that's a good question. I'm gonna say it's got to be one of the bad teams, like maybe like the Jaguars or who else? I don't think it's Miami.
So to help you out a little bit, Miami is pretty much in the middle of the pack,
Yeah.
and they're worth a shade under $3 billion.
Yep.
The lowest value we have on this graph here that I'm looking at, this graphic I'm looking at, the lowest value is $2 billion. Which
Two big-
NFL team do you think that is? And would you want to buy this franchise for $2 billion?
Gosh, I can't. It's got to be like one of those teams that are just terrible year after year. The Jets.
No, the Jets are in New York City and they're owned by the Johnson family.
Yeah.
They're highly valued. So the Jets are about $3.5 billion. Let me give you a clue for this team.
Give me another hint.
Kajana Carter.
The Bengals.
The Cincinnati Bungles are
The
worth
Bengals.
$2 billion with a net income of less than $100 million. You want to talk about the haves and the have-nots in the league? Like you see that, I mean, it's still a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but the
That is.
disparity, the disparity between how much net income between the top and the bottom is pretty big.
It's pretty big, and the payback. Like, so say you were to actually buy the Bengals or the Bungles for $2 billion. Your payback is like 20 years. That's a long time.
It's not great as far on the net income part, right?
No, that's
Now,
not
of
great.
course, right, but you do know you're not going to lose the value for the most part. Sports franchises have only gone up over time.
In
Because once in a while, you'll have a Steve Ballmer that shows up and overpays for the Clippers.
okay, dude.
Yeah.
Hey, you might want to take a test right now.
No, but that's the thing about franchises.
You know,
They,
like
they tend to go up in value.
historically, that might be true, but there could always you could always be that one time where it doesn't.
It could, but
Oh,
we've also been through about what, 3 financial calamities in the last 20 years, if not 4.
Yeah, it's been a lot.
And
I mean, oh my goodness.
but it hasn't affected the values of these franchises.
Yeah, that's true.
So bringing up the rear is the Cincinnati Bengals, the Buffalo Bills, the Lions, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Brady's definitely going to help
I
with
think
that, especially
I think
this
in the
year.
next couple of years, Brady's changing the value of the Buccaneers in the next couple of years.
Yeah,
For sure.
and just their success.
So their success alone, the Seahawks and all these other teams that have experienced a lot of success over the last few years with great ownership too. When you talk about the Seahawks, you always got to talk about the great ownership of the late Paul Allen and his family, what they've done for a whole city, really, of Seattle, not just the Seahawks.
You know what's sad about Detroit is that they had arguably the greatest running back, the most exciting running back in NFL history, and they couldn't do anything with that. Isn't that sad?
Well, and at one point in time, they had the best wide receiver in football, and they could do nothing with that also.
Yeah.
And at one point in time, they drafted a wide receiver in the first round for 3 straight years.
Yeah, they did that too. Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, the good old Matt Millen years.
Yep. Yeah, and they couldn't even beat Chicago with Calvin Johnson.
Well, he is the reason why they had you have to survive the ground rule.
That is. I remember watching that game.
On a touchdown reception.
I think I want to bet on that.
Uh-huh. Classic backdoor win right there.
Oh my God, dude. He totally caught that.
Absolutely caught it. He was celebrating. He was palming the ball, and he stood up. And he just put it on the ground, and he stood up.
Yeah, and the same thing with who's the Dallas receiver? Des Bryant.
That catch cost Tony Romo a potential shot at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that was a catch, dude.
Yeah, what do we know? We do know that the Bears are horrible, and it's getting worse by the week. Yeah. On the other hand, my Giants showing signs of life in the last week or so.
Yeah, I mean,
showing signs of progress.
I'm very surprised by that. They have been
showing signs of progress. I will say, though, watching that Giants-Redskins game, I think the one biggest takeaway I have of that game is Alex Smith. There were moments in that game where Alex Smith looked like Alex Smith. I'm not going to be surprised if the Washington Football Club, a football team, makes a big run right now.
Yeah, that scares me about Washington is that Alex Smith is an unknown right now. Like when he's playing good, he's a solid quarterback, regardless of what anyone says.
Yeah.
He wins games.
Right.
You know, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes.
Nope.
He's solid, and I think he's a step. Like if he can play like he did in the past, he's a step up from Haskins and
Haskins and Kyle Allen.
Kyle
Well,
Allen.
and I think the biggest thing you get this week is he's going to have a full week of practice. And Washington doesn't have a lack of athletes. They actually have some talent on that team. I'm actually probably going to pick the Redskins up for the upset this week against the Lions.
Wow.
They're a 4-point underdog, and I'm just trying to decide whether I'm just going to take the 4 points or I'm going to make that a money line bet.
Money line.
So I might money line that bet.
Always money line.
I think I'm gonna money line that bet because I said you watched Alex Smith, man. Yeah, you get tired of watching the checkdowns, but his decision making is so quick, is so smooth.
Yeah.
Offense was running. Yeah, he had a couple of turnovers. He's rusty. You know, give that experience, and I'll have a whole week of practice with the number ones. I think it's gonna look pretty good for Washington. I think that line is really off this week against the Lions. The Lions will just find a way to lose that game eventually. They might have the lead and they'll just lose the game in the fourth quarter like they do every game. So
we'll see, man. I can never bet against Matt Stafford after we destroyed Hawaii.
I always bet against Matt Stafford.
Actually, it wasn't even really him.
You know, it was. What was that guy's name? Was it Dana Howard? I think it was Dana Howard or something like that. The defensive lineman.
The lineman, yeah. No, it was no Sean Marino.
No Sean Marino.
Yep. Anyway.
Well, I want to thank the Dancing Queen for that. I mean, her little contribution to our show added to our segment.
Yeah.
So feel free, anybody is listening, if you want to DM us and tell us what you think, DM us on our Instagram page at Voices for Blogging. And you too can get a nickname and appear on the show in that way.
I don't know if that's incentive or not, but
it is for us because we have interaction with an audience. That's amazing.
It is amazing. We value those greatly.
We will celebrate you anytime you said something to us, even if you're cussing us out.
Cheers.
Yeah, so overall for the week, you know, we ended up 10-10 with our overall record, 2-2 for the week. The way the tally goes after that week, you're 2-6 for the season.
Oh God.
And I am 8-4.
God damn.
It'll get better, man. It'll get better.
I'm telling you, I'm about to do a 16 parlay. Get it all back.
You know, it's such bad timing that you're going to Vegas this weekend because you're kind of on tilt a little bit. So I expect to hear a story about some pretty big bet on some 14 parlay that would be very not advisable for most people to do, but you're going to do.
I disagree. I think it's actually a great time to go to Vegas because I got to win.
It's time. You're due. The classic, you're due. It's like looking at the roulette wheel and see 6 red numbers in a row. It's got to be black.
It's got to be black. You know, I have a friend that does that actually. And the time that he's done that, he's won. So cannot argue about that. But yeah, dude, it's just like being 0 for 10 in baseball, dude. It just means you're due. I'm gonna go 3 for 3.
I mean, this run kind of reminds me of. Do you remember Anthony Young for the New York Mets?
Anthony
Young.
He
was like back in 93, 92, 93. Over 2 seasons, he had lost 27 consecutive decisions as a starting pitcher.
Dang, I remember pitchers like that, but I don't remember this.
Right. So yeah, and he didn't pitch bad. His ERA over that time is less than 4. It was just the Mets were so terrible. The Mets were so bad those 2 years. They're historically bad.
It's almost like DeGrom today.
Like the dude pitches lights out and he only has a 500 record.
Yeah, like, can't catch a break, man.
I mean, so hopefully with the new ownership, the Mets can kind of turn it around, and with the money that he can infuse into the payroll and just for the whole organization. You know, the old owners, I mean, they were still reeling from the Bernie Madoff scandal.
Oh yeah, that was
they never recovered from it, and neither has the team.
How could you recover from that? If they got anything back, it was like pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, what a mess.
What a mess.
Yep. So, as a Mets fan, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, maybe one day they can bring back Strawberry and Gooden and
No, 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 man. Too much cocaine, man. Too much
You know,
cocaine.
I really wanted to read that book actually. There was a book that was written about them.
Yep.
I want to say like 10 plus years ago now, and it basically detailed the story of that '86 team, and
Yep.
it sounds a lot like the early '90s Cowboys.
It does. Same thing.
Yeah,
It's a story. It's a story that just repeats itself in sports. I mean, money, fame, pressure. Drugs, women. All that stuff. I mean, it's a wash, rinse, and recycle kind of story that happens a lot in sports. It still happens today. But I mean, Gooden and Strawberry, and of course Sid Fernandez are they're the reasons why I was a Met fan.
Sid Fernandez. Yeah, I mean, I think everyone in Hawaii was a Mets fan back then.
Yeah, I'm just the one that held on.
Yeah, back then I think I was a Pirate fan. Then I traded to the Giants and did a lot of
Man,
roids. My head grew a couple sizes.
so you essentially followed Barry Bonds over to the Giants, basically.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. So that was our picks for the week. 10-10. Come on, buddy.
Oh, that
Come on,
sounds
buddy.
terrible.
Get on your run, man, so we can get on the plus side.
Trust me, I'm
Uh,
gonna get on one.
yep. Get on the run, man.
Just a question of when.
I mean, I hit 3 parlays last week.
Damn, dude.
So, it's just one of those things where I'm like, man, like tonight, tonight I made the pick of the Titans, and I'll kind of talk about why I picked the Titans tonight. And of course it lost. But because of discipline, I didn't bet on it. But I like the pick, but I didn't bet on it because I'm like, you know what? I had 3 for 3 in parlays, and then I didn't play a parlay on Sunday that I just gave to my friend. I told him this is my picks, and it hit. Actually, I'm 8 for last 8. So when I had this idea about picking the Titans tonight, I'm like, I just laid it down. I'm like, I gotta be wrong at some point in time. And lo
Yeah.
and behold, tonight was the night.
I was thinking the Titans too as well. If you're gonna lose when you gamble, it's good to get blown out.
It
And
is, and
it was a blowout.
when what you expect to happen happens in the first half, and then it just goes horribly wrong in the second half. And that's the part you're like, wow. It turned so fast.
Yeah.
We had that feeling. It's kind of like when going back to our RG3 story. We just knew at some point in time that bet we made on the Saints during RG3's debut in the Aria Sportsbook in Vegas. At some point in time, we knew this thing's not turning around. As the chance of RG3 echo throughout the whole sportsbook.
I knew it from that one play action touchdown, like in the second quarter or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
oh my God.
You just get that feeling. We're like, so tonight when there was a block kick and a scoop score, yeah, I mean, at that point I was like, this isn't happening. But
Yeah.
I do have the strategy with any team that plays the Ravens. A lot of times I'll bet against them at least in the first half of their next game. Because of the way the Ravens play, they just beat you up. Playing the Ravens right now, it's what they do on offense now. It's very similar to what the academies do and all the type of blocking schemes that they do now, that they do at the academies and back at Georgia Tech when Paul Johnson was there. Teams are just beat up. So on a short week, I was like, hey, I'll bet on that, because I've seen it happen so many times.
Yeah.
And Frank Reich did one of the best things he could do to help his defense, kept his offense on the field.
Yeah.
Time of possession tonight for the Colts. I mean, they were really efficient on the field and ate up clock, and but they kind of just put on a clinic. I'm not sure the Titans are for real this year. I what you see tonight, I'm kind of like, man, I don't know how far they're gonna go.
Yeah, crazy, man.
But it's this year's NFL. If this year's NFL is anything, it is unpredictable in so many ways.
This year's NFL, this year's NFL, this year's baseball, this year's basketball. It's just an unprecedented year, right?
Yep. We got the NBA starting up very soon. I'm pretty sure LeBron's not going to play for about 2 months.
Those guys. I'm actually worried for a lot of injuries in the NBA this year because they had very little time off, and they've been playing other than the 3 months I think that they were off. Yeah,
I mean, this sets up perfectly for the Golden State Warriors. They didn't make the playoffs. They got healthy. LeBron ain't gonna play. They're gonna be able to get their stuff together early and take a big lead, in the conference, really. Yeah. Because all the playoff teams, they're still recovering. But all these teams that didn't make the playoffs, like the Brooklyn Nets and the Warriors, this is gonna be a pretty strong year for both of those teams because they're fresh.
They're fresh, yeah. I think
they're ready to go.
Yeah, that's going to be a big key for them. You know, like even the Golden State Warriors, like although they only have Draymond, Clay, and Steph Curry now, like
Hey,
people forget, man. People
don't
forget,
forget
like
Wiggins. Don't
when they
forget
played,
Wiggins.
yeah, when they played, oh, that's true. They got Wiggins too. When they played the Raptors in the finals,
Yes, sir.
if the Golden State Warriors didn't lose Klay Thompson in Game 6, they might have won that game.
They would have won that game
They would have won the game. I think so too. That
because
would have
he
gone to
was
Game 7, and
he
anything
would.
can happen. Their team is
Anything can
that.
happen in Game
Yeah,
Sevens. Game Sevens, anything can happen. Clay was heating up that game. He started to kind of become the hot Clay.
he was heating up.
He
Yeah,
and then he just landed awkwardly, and that was that.
yeah. It's
That was that.
injuries, right? I mean, even that one year, I think it was 2015 when the Golden State Warriors won the championship. People
Yep.
forget that Kevin Love was hurt, Kyrie Irving
Yep.
was hurt. It was only LeBron, and even with just LeBron, they won 2 games. Like,
Yep.
he willed that team to 2 games.
Right.
That guy is amazing.
No, he is amazing, and he proved it again in this year's finals. And now he has the tandem. A very good partner with him at the LA Lakers. So, because technically, is AD a free agent right now? He is, isn't he?
I think
Technically,
he might. I think he has a player option, right?
right. So you would expect him to kind of extend his contract when free agency starts. I believe that starts on the 22nd. I think is when all the free agency starts and all trades can be consummated.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, is
it's
he?
great.
Yeah, is he a free agent? I
I
forget.
believe so. I believe so. I believe he has the right to become a free agent if he wants to be.
So he could also sign on for another year.
He could, right? But
It's
it's
a player
his
option.
choice.
Yeah.
But it's his choice. So it's gonna be interesting. I don't see him leaving LA. I think when you're successful as a Laker like this and you're a big part of them winning,
Yeah.
it's 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 LA, man. It's the Lakers, man. You ain't gonna leave the Lakers.
Yeah. So he has a player option. He can opt out. But
Yep. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you got a good situation here. It's LA.
You do. Yep.
A lot of other opportunities if you want them.
Yep.
They just won a championship.
Yep.
I don't
Yep.
see him leaving. But then
No,
again,
I don't.
crazier things have happened.
Crazier things that happen. Completely. He could just go to Miami and go win one with Miami next year, for all we know.
He could. I mean, Miami's got a solid up and coming team.
They got a solid base. They do need one more star.
Yeah, they need one
One
more
more
guy.
star.
Yep.
One more star guy that can coexist with Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Yep.
So, but
So did you watch the Masters today?
I watched a little bit. I was more tracking the scores because today was my cooking day at my my private cooking clients. So I go there every Thursday to kind of cook his meals for the week.
Oh, nice.
So I kind of just trace. I just kind of track it. Tiger played well.
Tiger played really well. He's in contention right now. He's tied for third, 4
He
strokes,
is. He
4
is
under.
4 under.
The leader is 7 under
DeChambeau is going to be the guy everyone's going to be watching this whole tournament.
with his 48-inch driver.
He's going for distance. He doesn't care about the dispersion. He'll deal with hitting out of the rough. That's the strategy he's going with right now. He's just going. He's going for as long as he can go and just deal with the rough.
I want to see how that's going to work out, actually.
I mean, it's worked out okay so far this year. But of course, you saw the trouble he got into today a few times.
Yeah.
I mean, literally bushwhacking. He got in trouble today. But, I like guys that shake it up. I like guys that try different things. There's a lot of, as far as biomechanics go and some of the things that go on with sports performance, some of the stuff lines up. It does. It's just that you got to be willing with dealing with the bad shot, which he has pretty often at times.
Yeah, no, I think to move things forward, just in sports or in anything in general, you have to try things that are not conventional,
Push
right?
the
I mean,
envelope.
back in the day in basketball, right, the two-handed set shot was the shot before some guy tried the one-handed shot, right? And then that became the dominant thing. And before in basketball again, like everything was about like layups and mid-range. Now it's about 30-foot three-pointers. So things evolve and things change, and I think you got to try to do different things.
What you do, right, when you try different things, other things may come of that, right? The thing you might be trying might not be the thing that lasts, but some other innovation is going to come because of it.
Yeah.
I look at performance training. I look at what I do, in my athletic training world. Like there's so much change since the time since we left college to now. in the way I do things and the
Wait, hold
way
on.
things are thought.
I left college last year. When did you
You,
leave college?
you left college. Actually, you left college 1 year after me, so I'll give you that.
I left college. No, I didn't. I left college last year, dude.
My Arches magazine came in the mail the other day.
Wow, really? I don't
Yeah,
think I got one yet.
I flipped through it for about 3 or 4 pages, and yeah, threw it away. That's good. Moving on, man. Interesting thing since our last episode. A lot of things happening in the world shortly after our episode.
A lot of things happening. Basically, they assumed well, no, I shouldn't say assumed, but it's been, I don't even know what word to use here, but Biden is
You
going to
refer,
be our next president.
yeah, I mean, he is, and Trump's, as predicted, Trump's going to drag this out as long as he can, and in some of the states, rightfully so. A lot of the
Yeah,
state laws in some of the states, if it's 0.5% or 1%, you are allowed to ask for recount, and he should.
yeah. I don't see any problems with asking for recounts. I don't see any problems with making sure that the election was secure.
Hmm.
But I think what's not good is when you make a lot of, I guess, accusations or statements that have nothing substantial, I guess, behind it. I think
Hmm.
that's not good.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. I mean, but it's in true Trump fashion that's how he's doing it, right?
it's in true Trump fashion.
He's been consistent, and in that sense, it's predictable.
Yeah,
So you just kind of let him have his little tantrum, and we'll move on with things. More importantly, we got news about. I shouldn't say more importantly, but in some ways it is. We got a little positive news about the Pfizer vaccine and its potential 90% effective rates,
yeah,
which is promising. But I think we caution that news with understanding that mass distribution of that probably doesn't reach everyday people to potentially probably till the summer of next year. And the safety part of the trials need to be run still.
yes.
The after effects.
Yeah. So here's my question about that 90%, and I didn't really look into this. I had glanced at something that said that the trial was, I don't know, like a couple hundred people. But I had also heard from someone else that actually the trial was actually pretty large.
It's large,
So
in the tens of thousands.
okay, okay, yeah, that's a lot more, I think, definitive. I think than had it been a small group of people. Obviously,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, because and I'm just pulling that off the top of my head because I remember that when they were enrolling people in these trials, the numbers they were talking about needing to have enrollment in is about 60,000 or
wow.
somewhere between 30 to 60,000. So whether that happened in this case or they're announcing the numbers off the first 100, maybe that's where the 100 came from. Yeah, I got to look into it too. But in the end, there's just more information we still need from these guys. We want to see 2 months from now, those people that took the vaccine, do they have side effects? And maybe by the time it hits circulation into the general population, that's going to be about 6 to 9 months after these people have been treated. So then we'll have a better idea if they had any side effects, and that might convince people to be a little bit more amiable to actually taking the vaccine, because I think most people I talk to don't want to take it.
Really?
Yeah, because they're worried about the efficacy of it,
Huh.
the safety of it, as far as long term safety, any kind of long term side effects.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, obviously, I'm not a biology major, but yeah, I think I'm going to stop there. I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to speculate.
You are in the land where anti-vaxxing came from, so
Really? Oh, California? Oh, well.
so
Yeah, no, I'm not. No. Yeah, no, we're not going to go there.
no,
We're
but
not gonna go.
I think people that decide not to take the vaccine now, it's a little different from that movement. I think it's a little bit. I think it's reasonable for people to wonder how safe it is because we've never developed a vaccine this fast before that's going to get distributed
Right.
to such a huge population.
Right, but the vaccine it's to basically develop an antibody response, right? Isn't that what it is? I could be wrong.
It's going to create the response we need to kind of fight what's going on, or basically you're going to have the antibodies.
Right. I thought that was pretty. I thought that there's not much that can go wrong there because basically you're introducing like the virus's dead like RNA, right? And based on that, that's what your body is using to build a
Uh,
response to.
you're gonna get an immune response. So like
Yeah.
one of the things you hear a lot of people say, and this is of course limited knowledge on this too. But you think about the flu vaccine. You know how some people feel a little kind of groggy or they'll get a low grade fever
Right.
after a flu vaccine, because you're essentially that's actually a good sign that the vaccine's working
Right. Because your
because
body is responding.
you're getting that response, so the body kind of
Right.
builds up the immunity. You know, it's kind of one of those things where this 90% number is huge because the flu vaccine, depending on the year, could
Yeah.
run as low as 60%, 50% effectiveness.
Huh. Interesting.
So that's why everyone got so hot and bothered about it. And then moving forward into stuff we talk about more, which is the markets. The way the market moved that day, to
Was
me,
bigly.
yeah, that
Was
to
bigly.
me, the way the market moved, that was just a bunch of short covering. It reminded me of the financial crisis when
Really.
we could get a positive piece of news and all the banks would run in the early part of a morning
Yep.
and then give back a lot of its gains by the end of the day. And that's what it did that day. The market popped all
What
up
it
to
did.
the
Yeah.
Dow popped up 1,400 points, I believe, if not more. And then it finished at 895, and then it's slowly giving some of it back. And the Nasdaq got hit hard because, of course, people started running out of the stocks that did well during COVID times, thinking that this is all of a sudden going to flip a switch and everything's going to be great. You know, we got 2 quarters left of bad COVID news. You know,
Yeah.
two
I
quarters left of earnings for these companies like Zoom and CrowdStrike and Peloton and all these guys to still execute in a Christmas season that
Yep.
these COVID winners are probably going to win during. You know, you look at the airline stocks, their stocks went up and then they came back down pretty quickly.
Banks went up and went
You
down,
know,
right?
and you're right, they all did. And so that's not healthy market movement. That's movement that says you got no support on the upside, which is why in that last episode I was saying the market feels a little toppy and I was okay taking some profits. I was a day early, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being a day early because you can't never complain about taking profits, you know?
No, you cannot. It's like my sister says, there's nothing wrong with taking money off the table.
There's nothing. You can always come back. You can wait for another entry point and come back in.
Yeah.
You know, but it's going to be volatile. It's going to continue to be a little volatile. But I think in the end, by the end of the year, the market will be up from where it is now. Historically, November is a great month in the market.
Yeah. November, December, I think like that's why I think actually crypto will be up too.
Right. And that's kind of why I'm excited to get my account started and, get that episode going where we start my crypto account. I can't wait. That's going to be great.
We got to do that. We got to get you in now, man.
Yep. And the disciplined way to do it is to buy a little at a time. And if it runs on that little that I buy, then great. It's still making money. Better than a sharp stick in the eye, you know?
Yeah. You don't want to be disciplined though. You want to go all in. Bad idea, man. By the way, my record is 2-6, by the way. So,
by the way, that's only when we're playing Pai Gao after sports betting all day. And then
I got
$1,000 bet on one hand of Pai Gao comes out.
no. Pagao, you're supposed to slow play it. That's a time killer.
Do you remember that time at the Flamingo where
I do not.
you were laying 4-digit bets on Pai Gao?
No? Was I doing that really?
Yes. I had moments where I was like, Royce, you need to stop. Because you were winning. So I was like, dude, take the money and run. Take the money and run.
Yeah, I don't remember that, dude. It's just another day for me.
I think it was the same day as the UNLV game where we were yelling, let them score for
Well,
the Sands.
yeah, see, that's the problem, probably.
We were, yeah, we definitely weren't fully
I was not
all together
there,
at that point
for
in the
sure.
night. Nope. So
That was a fun game, though.
it was.
That was a fun
But
year.
yeah, man,
That was a
it
fun
was.
year.
I mean, and we capped off with, because that was the Sugar Bowl year, wasn't it?
That was a Sugar Bowl year.
Yeah.
I still have an extra ticket for the game. My dad was going to go. He didn't want to go, or he couldn't make it. So I have the ticket, actually. I have it in a case somewhere.
One of the greatest moments in Hawaii sport history, even though they got their asses
Never
whooped.
going to happen again.
Nope, no chance.
Never going to happen again. Once in a lifetime, man.
Once in a lifetime, that's where we went. That's where we all went. I think everyone that went that year knew this was it.
Everybody
Let's
went.
en- let's
There
enjoy this.
there were, I ran into people I hadn't seen in like years
Years,
in New Orleans,
absolutely.
of all
Yeah,
places.
I don't know. I had some of my greatest casino runs though on that trip, man.
So
Dude,
did the Georgia defense.
it did.
Yeah.
Well, it's what happens when your quarterback's hungover, so stuff like that
We
happens.
don't want to talk about that though.
All I'll say is I hope he gets his life together, man. It's kind of sad.
What is he doing
Uh,
now?
he's just struggling, man. He's struggling.
Is he in Hawaii?
Yeah, he's here.
Huh.
Yeah. So wish him well, but hopefully he gets the help he needs and kind of gets his life on track.
It's
But
tough, man.
drugs and alcohol, man. It's tough.
It's tough, dude. I mean, definitely. I'm sure there's other things going on behind that. Usually, that's what it is, right? And
Yep. Yep.
there's nothing
Yep.
anyone can do. Like just like Delonte West,
Yep.
right? I mean, he's a little bit luckier, I think, because Mark Cuban got him
It's gonna,
to a addiction
yep.
center.
Yep.
But I mean, it's
Nah,
not
man.
always
I
like
mean,
that.
substance abuse it's ugly, man. I don't wish that. I don't wish that upon anybody, and all those people that are battling that on a daily basis. It's a battle for the rest of their lives, and there's no easy answer to it. There's no toughing it out. It really is that day by day existence, and those, hopefully everyone that's struggling with that, finds the other side in the right way, in the best way they can.
Yeah, that's so
So
serious.
yeah, that got serious, man.
That's so dark.
That got a little heavy. You know, I mean, we were talking about serious stuff. We were talking about, the vaccine. We're talking about COVID, and we're just living in these times now, man. We got the highest daily case counts than we ever had, and it's not going to go away. It's not going to go down anytime soon. It's going to go up. You have your second round of lockdowns going
Yeah.
around all over the place on the mainland where you are on the continental U.S. right now.
Yeah, I think we're definitely. I mean, California's headed towards another stay at home. I'm pretty sure. It's. I don't really think that people understand exponential growth, and I think that's one of the reasons why people aren't as focused on taking down the curve. Because exponential growth, man, like once it gets out of control,
It's out of control.
out of control. Like you're talking about like an explosion.
Yep. Well, I think one of the best ways to show exponential growth maybe is to show everybody Wayne's World, and that one scene where, then where he's talking about telling one person, and when that person tells another person, and all of a sudden the whole screen's full of Mike Myers' face. I don't know if you remember that clip in Wayne's World, but
I never saw that movie because I was not even born yet at that
shut the front door.
time. I don't remember what that scene exactly.
But it's one of those moments where right now, where we talked about this a little in the last episode, that I know you feel like the market is looking past these next 2 months too, though, because they've already assumed this was coming. They've assumed these 2 to 3 months were coming. And that's what some of the sell off in September and October was about. So
I mean, obviously the market is.
because we're at
Yeah.
all-time highs case counts, and we're at near all-time highs in the market. That's the only
Yeah.
thing that makes sense. That's the only way to make sense of that, really.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really going to be interesting to see, I think, what happens in the next 6 months. For me, that's going to be the most interesting thing because I really do think that just like what happened after 1918, when they had the Roaring Twenties, I think you're going to see the same thing where people are going to want to get out there. Like people have been stuck at home for what, 6 months now, 7 months,
Yeah.
8 months.
Not 8 months, and it's one of those things. It's amazing because as much as that's true, that when the day comes that we all feel safe to do the things we want to do, we're going to do it. And of course, there's other people that already felt safe, so that's why they've been doing what they've been wanting to do for the last 2 months,
Yeah.
which has kind of led to these numbers. But like I love travel. I love traveling. I just don't know. I can't even imagine the day where I'm taking my family on a trip somewhere.
Yeah.
Like I can't even imagine that day right now. I can't even see what that day doesn't look like it's coming anytime soon.
Yeah.
Let alone meeting you in Vegas so we can, do our normal things in Vegas. But
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting. We'll kind of see how this all plays out. And I will say this, as an entrepreneur, having learned now how to handle running a business in this environment, it's the weirdest thing that you kind of figure it out now. You kind of figure out how to make it happen. So like here we have this tiered system to reopen. My partner and I were talking about like, as long as we don't go down in tiers and have more restrictions,
Yeah.
we know how to operate in this environment now. Is it optimal? Do we have the most income we could ever get? No, but we can get it where it's a little more than surviving at this point.
Yeah, I really think that, especially small businesses, I mean, I guess any business at this point, like if you can make it through this period at the end, at the end of this whole pandemic, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for growth. I mean, I think this is a perfect time to start a business.
I think so, and I think you're also in an environment where you get assistance by the government to kind of keep things going. No,
Hopefully.
we no, we
Hopefully.
have. I mean, between PPP, between the idle loans, between grants that the municipalities are offering, it's a lot of support. Like for I can say on my end, like things like some rent reimbursement has happened, some reimbursement of some costs associated with COVID and some costs for switching things in my business because of COVID. There's a grant that I'm applied for the state of Hawaii here that, I'm waiting for my approval. But, there are things out there to support us. Of course, you'd like to get more because this is so unprecedented, but it's also unprecedented for the government to give this much support.
I think it depends on where you are. I mean, I definitely think that one thing that the government really messed up on is that if they really wanted to shut this virus down in the beginning and they really wanted businesses to close down and all those things, they should have provided a little bit more for those businesses and for those people. Even now with the second stimulus basically in limbo now, who knows whether it's going to happen.
Like we talked about that, right?
Yeah, we talked about that, right? Like
We're talking March, right? We're predicting March, right?
yeah, like it's a lot of these a lot of these small businesses aren't going to make it, and those people that are not going to make it, like those are real people. Like they have to make a choice between like defying government orders now and possibly surviving or not making it at all.
You've had the states and municipalities that had a higher risk tolerance, we'll just say, to put it nicely, during these COVID times. And and some of them are now experiencing some of the backlash from that. Like Utah was a state where they let sports go. They were letting sports happen and they're doing all these things. And yet we had like football players from here move to Utah. Volleyball players moved to Utah to play their high school season. But look where Utah is now, where they're in a lockdown position now. So it's kind of one of those things where it's challenging because every time you feel like maybe it's okay to do a little bit more things and kind of loosen up a little bit, you kind of get pushed back down a little bit. The virus reminds you, like I was talking to my client today, my client that I was cooking for today, he has family up in Washington, in Seattle, and his grandson's coach tested positive for Pop Warner football or for flag football.
Yeah.
Like that's all it takes.
Yeah.
He's positive, so now everyone has to get tested, and a couple other people were positive as a result, and it spreads. The exponential growth thing again.
Exponential growth. Yep.
And so, I get it. I get everybody wanting to get back to normal, wanting to play youth sports and all those kind of things. But when they make the comparison to college sports and youth sports, I'm like, college sports have the capacity to test.
Yeah.
When you play community sports, they can't test. You don't have the capacity to test yet. So I think not until we get that $1, not even just the $5 Abbott Labs test, so there is a $1 test that's being kind of developed right now, where it's a $1 rapid test that everyone can have at home, and and do that and test daily and test before they do something. Is it perfect? No, but it's a lot more than we ever had so far.
Yeah. I think that's what people misunderstand is that like you're not going to get perfect. You're not going to get perfect.
Yep.
Something that's good enough is good enough at this point.
If we have a low-cost test that you can test every single day, if you do turn positive, you can pull yourself out of circulation as faster than you ever could, because you know in 5, 15, or 10 minutes. Like the rapid test I have at my clinic just for my own personal use, I know in 15 minutes if I'm positive or if somebody wants to work out or spend time with us is positive.
Yeah. Wow. Nice.
So it's one of those things where, is it the most efficient one? No, because we only know at that period of time if you're positive, but that's where the questions come in. Have you been in contact with people? Have you felt funny? And we know it's more accurate probably 3 or 5 days after your exposure, but because those are typically when you're going to get your symptoms if you
Yeah.
get them. But it's again better than nothing.
Yep. Better than nothing, man. And anything at this point is a positive.
Yeah. And you should see the relief on these people's faces that, like my friends or something that want to use a test because they came in contact with someone.
Yeah.
The relief they feel when they know they don't have to wait 3 days for the result. And they know if they need to come back and get another test, then I can give them another test. But, it's just one of those things where the mental health side of all this is so, man, we're going to pay the price for this for so long on the mental health side.
It's one thing I don't really think about too much, but definitely there's going to be a huge cost. For sure.
Look at the substance abuse stuff we talked about, right? Alcoholism is people allude to the fact that they say alcoholism is up. I'm not sure if that's a official stat, but it definitely seems that way. There's definitely more people drinking at home and drinking at home more. And look at Sam Adams. Look at the stock of Boston Beer Company. That thing's flying through the roof.
No, I mean, there's definitely a fact that alcohol sales are up.
That they don't need the bars to be open or sports stadiums to be open, and alcohol sales are up. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
Buy it at home. It's cheaper.
Yep. Sure is, man.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what 2021 is like, and we'll see, how moderate Biden will be in office, and because it seems from his reputation that he's definitely more moderate than he is far left.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
but we'll see. We don't need far left, man. We don't need far left. We don't need far right.
Yep.
But I put a post up on our Instagram page about binge watching The West Wing, and it's fascinating to watch because the things they talked about 20 years ago on The West Wing, same. It really wasn't that different, even though it seems like it was. So they talk a lot about the far left, the far right, and how moderates get run over. And the moderates don't get to get their way. And a lot of people, when they look back at Obama's administration, they say the same thing happened to him when he was running. When he was running, he was trying to fashion himself more moderate and try to walk the middle of the aisle and kind of talk to both sides. And he made some enemies on the left, because of that. And eventually he swung probably more left than he advertised he was initially. But it's fascinating though, when I watch The West Wing, it's kind of the same thing. These issues of, women and pay and, of course, racial profiling and racism and all these inequities. 20 years ago, I look back and I'm like, God, how much has it changed? I feel like sometimes not much it really has changed. How politics really, that's the sad part of all this, right? When you see people get all up in arms during the election, I'm like, that's cool, you get all up in arms, but at the same time, when you look back for the last 20 years, nothing really has changed. So what makes you think it's going to happen now? Well, it's a little inspiring, though. It's good writing, right? It's Aaron Sorkin, right? So it's good writing.
It's going to be a good story, man. That's what all those shows are about, man. Good stories.
Yeah. Good stories, and it's not so much about being historically accurate, but it is a snapshot to what life was like back then when when you and I were getting out of school, essentially.
Whoa, slow down. Slow down, buddy.
So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see, man. We'll see how this all plays out, but it's been interesting. I think anytime we get a chance to play some Office, we should, though. Getting into crypto and doing all these other things with your money, just finding ways to grow where we can.
Yeah, you got to find upside, man.
You got to find upside, but it's about growth, right? I mean, life is about growth as a whole, right? Whether it's incremental personal growth or professional growth, financial growth, whatever it is. I mean, you can't stop growing.
Yep.
And which means you got to keep looking. You got to keep looking, though. You got to keep looking.
You have to keep evolving. Like if you're not growing, you're dying, right? I mean,
find your creases where if you're a running back running to that offensive line, find daylight and run to it, man. So with that, I think we probably should sign off. We went over a good amount. We'll be posting our picks. Royce is going to be in Vegas, so he's going to be plus of us.
I will. Hopefully, I'll be taking some money back with me.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. You got anything else for us there, Royce?
I don't got anything else, man.
Yeah, I think that's going to be it for us today. Thanks for listening, everybody. Look forward to our next episode, and be well.
See you guys later.